Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. This week, my video is going to be suicidal ideations. And this is something I've dealt with some of my elderly patients recently. And this is something I used to deal with some of the youth that I used to work with. And it's actually very different. The protocols are very different. When working with youth, I know that when they had suicidal ideations, whether they had a plan or didn't have a plan, typically we would send the youth down to the hospital for a psych eval. Many times the youth would refuse, and we would have to have an ambulance come or police come and kind of force them to go down for a evaluation. And typically within 24 hours they were back and nothing had changed. It was very difficult to get them into like a children's or youth psych ward. We have a big one called Four Winds. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but that would be the typical protocol. If they had suicidal ideations and maybe didn't have a plan, and maybe the social worker wasn't as concerned about them hurting themselves, they might be put on a one-to-one, and staff obviously would either sit outside their door with their door open or sit basically right next to them and watch them continuously to make sure nothing had changed or if an evaluation needed to be done. When working with the elderly population, it's different, and I'll give two different examples. So we have a patient, she is schizophrenic. She refuses to take any medications. She thinks people are speaking to her. She says she can hear people upstairs when she's on the bottom unit. Has had manic episodes before. She's a very difficult patient to work with. One of the nurses had left scissors on the table. She took the scissors and she made a slight scratch in her wrist. Because she had done that, it was an automatic sent down to the ER. Unfortunately, she went down to the ER. She was back within a couple of hours. It's just our protocol. She had to go. We were hoping that they would keep her. We've been trying to find another placement for her, and at this time, no other placements, no other nursing homes are taking her because of her behaviors, her mental status, and she's also I can't think of it, but she's got a disease, spina bifida. That's what it is. So she also needs a lot of cares, and they refuse to take her. But this happens often. She may not say she wants to kill herself, or she'll yell in the hallway, I want to kill myself. Typically when she says it, we don't intervene. We're not going to send somebody down to the hospital for that because she doesn't have a plan. But because she used scissors and made a cut on her wrist, she had to go down, even though it wasn't anything deep, and they sent her right back. Second, I have a demented patient on our dementia unit, and she's had a very hard life. I mean, she's sort of with it, but very frequently she'll say, I want to die. I want to die. I want to see Jesus. She's very religious. Because she has never said, this is how I want to kill myself, or I find myself dying this way, my field instructor, basically says it's not, because she says it so frequently, she doesn't have a plan. She'll never say, this is how I want to die. Every once in a while, she'll say, if I had a knife or I had a gun, it would just go right here. But then she'll go on to another topic, and then she doesn't always come back and forth. So every time she says it, obviously, we talk about it. I let my field instructor know. I let the nurses know. So if something were to change, then they would send her down to the hospital. But typically when she's just speaking about it but isn't giving a specific plan of how she would or when she would, we kind of just, talk through it, give her extra support. She sees the psychologist, and we kind of leave it at that. So I think it's very different. Suicidal ideations when working with youth, when working with the elderly, when they have a plan, when they don't have a plan, and the protocols for the different types of patients and units. So I'm just curious, in your placements, do you have patients that have had suicidal ideations or suicidal thoughts? And if so, what are the protocols for the population that you work with? Thanks, guys. Have a good night.